have really created an all-out crisis of, call it what you will, oligarchy, the war machine, end stage capitalism, empire, pick your term. But we're, as you know, kind of we're facing like total meltdown in our lives, whether you're talking about low wages, inadequate jobs, healthcare that millions of people cannot afford, tens of millions of people cannot afford health insurance or adequate healthcare. Half of all renters are struggling to keep a roof over their heads, paying at least 30% of their income or more just to pay the rent, which doesn't leave the money to pay the student debt and the medical debt and your car insurance and put food on the table. We know that over 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck and not happy campers at all, and most people are really screaming for other choices politically, which is why they are really working overtime right now to try to keep us off the ballot, prevent you from having choices, and prevent people from even knowing that there are alternatives out there. They're kind of, quaking in their boots, knowing that this is kind of like the last days right now for empire and oligarchy. It's not working. We're spending half of our congressional budget, on the endless war machine. And is it making us safer?
Right,
Yeah, how much, and so we're kind of going bankrupt, fighting war after war, which we're losing catastrophically. You can go all the way back to Vietnam, or more recently with all the post 9/11 wars that we have really, spent like $21 trillion since 9/11, looking for weapons of mass destruction that never existed, and murdering millions upon millions of people in the process. Some 4 to 6 million, it's estimated, have been murdered in these outrageous wars to find weapons of mass destruction, and then the sequela of those wars, creating failed states and mass refugee migrations that come back to bite us, with the surge of refugees seeking asylum here. We just heard today have now been banned with the border closing. Biden is adopting the policies of the Republicans. As bad as the Republicans are, the Democrats, they give lip service to solutions, but they don't actually do anything differently. The differences are marginal, put it that way. And how do you figure out which one is the lesser evil when Joe Biden of the Democrats, who was supposedly, the better of the two, they are now leading the charge in this genocidal war, which all the world understands except for the US and Israel. We're both being isolated really as pariah states in opposition to international law and human rights. And it's quite crazy. So people are really hungry for alternatives, and we have basically the same green agenda updated to ensure that we have living wages of $20 to $25 an hour, so that a minimum wage should be a living wage. How can you work full time and still not be able to survive? That just doesn't make sense. Healthcare is a human right for everyone. We know that it will save us $500 billion a year. Actually, we save money even though we expand healthcare and expand coverage so that your dental care and your mental health care and your chronic care and your home care and all that, reproductive care, it's all covered, but we save money just for removing the red tape and bureaucracy that's wasting 1 out of every 3 healthcare dollars right now. We provide housing for people rather than housing for profit. If we do that, we can create the housing that we need, so-called social housing. Countries in Europe do it. It's affordable if we're doing it for people rather than for the real estate industry. And we call for a Green New Deal so that we're creating jobs that also transition us into clean renewable energy, and public transportation, and the systems that we need, sustainable agriculture, so that we have what we need to survive, because right now those systems are falling fast. So we can do this. It depends on getting on the ballot. They're pulling out all the stops to prevent us, and we just came from New York State, the Empire State, where the empire is, doing everything it can to keep us off the ballot. And what came out of New York, I don't know if you followed this part at all, but it was a very difficult battle, but it turns out, and we fell just barely short of the technical requirement, but we're gonna challenge the law in court because no one made it. No grassroots campaign made it. The only one who qualified is Robert F. Kennedy, who's not a grassroots campaign, who has very deep pockets and big corporate money, actually bought up all the professional signature collectors, so he had them all in his campaign. So of course, he's up there with the other two pro-war, pro-genocide candidates, and that's the choice now. Yeah. That's the choice in New York. They're gonna have 3 pro-war, pro-genocide candidates. That is fewer presidential candidates than any other state. Even the libertarians, who have never failed to qualify in a single state, they've been on the ballot in 50 states in 2020 and in 2016. They have qualified in all 50. Even they only collected like under 4,000 signatures in the time allotted. We collected 42,000.
10 to 14 times what any other candidate collected.
And so like coming out of this battle, we've discovered, oh my God, we have a really powerful grassroots campaign, and people are really mobilizing to make this happen, even against, an incredibly tilted playing field. So while technically we didn't quite qualify, in the bigger picture, we got the biggest win you could possibly have, which was to discover that the campaign has really taken off as a grassroots movement. And so we're hoping to bring that movement here in Illinois and in Indiana. Have you ever done petitioning before?
I did for a local race as somebody running for county clerk, but that's been about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, this one is a whole lot easier because all you have to say to people is, depending on where you are in the crowd and so on, but it's like, do you want to get another choice on the ballot?
Yeah.
And most people will sign for that, or if you're in an area where people are really struggling to afford their housing, would you like to get affordable housing and rent control on the ballot? A lot of people will sign for that. Or do you want to get health care as a human right for everyone on the ballot? A lot of people, huge majority of Americans want to have health care as a human right. So there are many ways, to pitch this very simply, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Are there, thoughts you have or questions about the campaign? Or, before we go into more details about petitioning?
I'm definitely happy to help petition in any way.
No, that would be really awesome.
Well, and because I signed one, now it's been months ago, but even that was for like Vivek Ramaswamy, who I didn't like anyway.
Yeah.
But just because I support ballot access, I figured I could sign it. But I plan on voting for you anyway.
Thank you.
It was kind of between you and Cornel West.
Yeah.
I liked your campaign more. I thought it was more thorough and you had a more comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
But one thing I was curious too, just because I've tried to kind of follow a bit of like you and some of the other candidates, but what are like on the issue of like I know we want to move to green energy, obviously.
Yeah.
In the meantime, do you think it's a wise decision to maybe try to nationalize the oil industry we do have in the United States? Or
Yeah.
Okay, me too.
I definitely think that's part of the solution here. Yeah, I don't think we're going to fix this without doing that. And basically, the fossil fuel industry owes the public like billions of dollars worth of environmental destruction and also health destruction.
Yeah.
So we could call it even, say, we're just going to nationalize you, and that would enable us to complete the conversion, to renewables. Absolutely. And in fact, the Green New Deal plan that we have, which is up on our website now, actually our whole platform is up on our website. But the Green New Deal calls for bringing into public ownership, public management, and planning several critical industries, including transportation. so that we need to actually
Yeah.
nationalize the railroads too, otherwise we're never going to upgrade them and coordinate them, we need